I love inspiration and motivation, but it is the neurological equivalent of candy. It's rad. It has its place, but everyone, because those just happen to be fleeting neurological states. Yeah. You just have to find something that's way more grounded. You need a mission. You need a grand why. You need to know what it is. And this is not a discovery. It's a thing you decide. I decided. Now, because I tell it as a story, people think, oh, it was unavoidable. He meets this kid, Rashawn, and that coupled with all the people that he worked with at Quest, it's sort of inevitable that he decides that he's going to build impact theory and try to change culture to give everyone an empowering mindset. Yeah, well, literally a year before I decided to found impact theory, my mission in life was to end metabolic disease. So it's like you decide and then you point yourself at something. Nothing is ever going to feel right. Like, this is what I was put on earth to do. It won't feel that way until about a year or 2 years after you've been saying that's what you're going to do, that that's what you're committed to, and actually acting in accordance with that. And then you'll be like, yeah, this actually is my mission.
Get rid of your 10-year goals and create a mission instead. I think a lot of people are so worried about where they're going to be in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years. We do these goal planning exercises. You ever gone through that? You ever gone through a goal planning exercise, goal setting exercise at events? You read a book that says where you're going to be in a year, in 5 years, or 10 years. And the more that I've thought about it, the more that I've gone through the exercises, the more I realized it's not important. It's not helpful. It's not where we want to be, because you don't know what you're capable of in a 5-year period, a 10-year period. Think about who you were 5 years ago. Take today's date and subtract 5 years. Think about that person. Could you have predicted where you are right now? Could the person you were 5 years ago have any degree of confidence to plan a life for who you are right now? There's no way. There's no way. Not if you're growing, not if you're learning, not if you're improving. If you're watching this channel, then you're somebody who is learning and growing and improving. And so you had no idea what you're capable of 5 years ago. And so what makes you think that it's any different now, that you can plan for the next 5 years? Like, the only way that you can create a 10-year plan for yourself is if you are not growing and you're in a really static life. You know, like if you're going to be a lawyer and you're going to work your way up and be a senior partner at the law firm, and that takes a certain amount of time, cool, you could plan that out. That's a pretty boring life. You know, chances are, if you're watching this video, you don't want that life, that you want to create new and build new, and that requires being flexible to jump off of your 10-year goals, right? It's not that it's wrong to have goals. Goals can work, they can be motivating, but your goals right now are a reflection of who you currently are. That's the problem. Whatever goal you set right now is a reflection of who you currently are. And the more that you are growing as a human, and the more that the world evolves and new technology comes out and new opportunities arise, the longer horizon you put out, the less accurate it's going to be. And so instead of worrying about having a 10-year goal, replace it with a mission. The problem of a 10-year goal is you could actually hit your 10-year goal. It's just way small compared to what you're capable of. And so the answer is have a mission. What's your mission? What are you trying to accomplish? Like, what's the big problem that you're trying to solve? And then wake up every day trying to attack that mission, as opposed to worrying about where you're going to be in 10 years. This might flip a lot of goal setting on its head. It might flip a lot of what you've been told or taught or thought on its head. And listen, if having that 10-year goal works for you and is actually motivating, cool. Keep with it. Keep going. If it's helping you, use it. But if you feel like there's something more, you feel like 10-year goal is not enough, you don't feel motivated when you look at your 10-year goal from 2 years ago, it doesn't appeal to you anymore, it's probably why. You know, you're growing too quickly. The problem is not your goals. The problem is that you grew too much. The 10-year goal was great for who you were 3 years ago. You're not that person anymore. You've grown too much. That's not a reason to feel bad. That's a reason to feel amazing. You know, you've grown. You've outgrown yourself. You've shed your skin. You're now turning to the next generation of you. And so my answer has been mission. What's the mission? What are you trying to accomplish? You know, so for me, I want to solve the world's biggest problem. Entrepreneurs and, you know, people don't believe in themselves. People don't believe in themselves. And I don't believe in myself enough. You don't believe in yourself enough. Nobody, you know, walking out here believes in themselves enough. We don't believe in ourselves enough. And I want to solve that problem. And I'm never going to solve that problem. And I wake up every day trying to solve that problem. And why it's so helpful to have a mission like that is because it gives you something to fight for every day. And there's always something new that can come out that can help you with that. And there's always opportunities that, I think, guys, the amount of things that I've seen and that has happened in the past 10 years, if you look at 10 years ago, Where was I on YouTube? I started in April 2009, so I was early in on my career on YouTube. I had a couple hundred subscribers. There's no way I would have said I'd be here. There's no way, just with the impact I've had, with the people I've met, with even just the confidence to sit here. I would have been so terrified to sit in a park making a video. Terrified of who's watching me, who's judging me, who's coming around the corner, who's behind there, maybe, looking at me and judging me. It just would have been impossible. So the person I was 10 years ago would have never even thought of this as a possibility. And now it's normal. It's not a problem, right? How quickly that we can grow. And so you come up with a mission. What's the problem you're trying to solve? And then as you develop new skill sets and improve mindsets and better belief systems, and as the market and technology evolves and opportunities arise, as you keep going and building momentum, there will be new things that you can go off and do that you never thought were possible. But it's always in service of the mission. So how do you find the mission? Well, that's your purpose for me, and your purpose comes from your pain. So whatever you struggled the most with is the thing you want to help other people through. And so I struggled so much to believe in myself in the early days of my business and quit. Like I quit for one day on my business in worst day of my life, and I just want to make the path a little bit easier for others. How do I keep going? People ask me, how do you keep going? How do you keep making content? How have you made, I don't know, 13,000, 15,000? I don't know how many videos I've made. It's crazy how many videos we've done. I only slept 2.5 hours last night. It was a really rough night. Why get up and keep making content? Because I'm on a mission. Because this means something to me. Whether 4 people watch this video or 4 million people watch this video, I'm hoping that this video in some way is a video that moves the needle just a little bit for somebody watching. Maybe it's you. Maybe this is the video that you decide, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna find my mission. I'm gonna stop creating 10-year goals and stop over-planning, over-preparing, and overthinking, and over-strategizing, and over-doubting myself, and just go do something. Like maybe today, this is the video, or maybe I make another video today that accomplishes that. Like that's my goal. That's why I do what I do. That's what gives me the energy to wake up when every bone in my body is saying, sleep, don't do the difficult thing. And it's easy because I'm on a mission. And so what's yours? What did you struggle with the most as a human? And if you can connect to that, you can think about all the people who currently are struggling with the thing that you struggled with. You're not done growing, you're not done learning, you're still improving. There's still a long ways to go. You're by no means perfect, neither am I. But you're a lot further ahead than you used to be. And there's a lot of people right now who are right now stuck where you used to be. And they don't know what to do. They don't know where to turn. They don't have anybody who believes in them. They don't have any hope. They don't have any strategies. They think they're stuck. They think they're stuck in your story, your message, your content, you reaching out. You could make the difference for them. If you actually believe that, it's going to just change the energy with which you show up and open you up to amazing new opportunities that, again, you can't predict 10 years in advance. So it's a challenge. It's a call to action today. If you love setting your 10-year goals and it works for you, amazing, keep going. Do what works for you. But if you feel like you're judging yourself against them, if you feel like they're not working for you, if you feel like you're 6 months in and you already want to change it, the problem is not that it's a 10-year goal. The problem is that you have already outgrown what you're capable of. You've already outgrown it 6 months in, a year in. And the thing that you won't outgrow is the mission. To have a goal, have a purpose so big that you never solve it, and you wake up every day trying to solve it.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
If somebody's giving you advice about something that they have not done in their own life, then they have basically a 0 believability score. And
somebody who has a 0 believability score shouldn't be pushing their idea like they know something. They should be asking a lot of questions. Now, when you're talking to somebody that's done it, Ray Dalio's saying is 3 times or more. If they've successfully done something 3 times or more, then they have believability in that area. So you want to find people that have believability, that really know what they're talking about, and then you should listen. You should ask a lot of questions. You should really come to understand it. If they haven't done that, they may still have amazing ideas, but what you need, because sometimes a novice has really fresh insights because they're just not stuck in the dogmatic ways of thinking that experts usually get into, but you need to be thinking about it differently. So rather than listening to their conclusions, you should be trying to understand their methodology. How did they get there? What is their process, their reasoning for making the statement that they're making? Now, if their reasoning is sound, then their conclusion may very well be worthwhile, but you have to understand their reasoning. So one of those 2 things. So either they are an expert in that area and thusly you should listen, or they are not, and you should only be thinking about what their process was to get to that conclusion. And then you have to be able to derive your own assessment as to whether or not you should listen to them. There's not going to be anything more empirical than that.
If you want to do something extraordinary, you have one job. Leave your fellow humans in awe. Now, when you think about, holy shit, my job as a parent, as an entrepreneur, as an athlete, as a speaker, as a whatever you want to be, you've got to get so good at that thing that when people see you do it, you make them experience the most potent human emotion, and that is awe. To get that good is a terrifying journey of self-discovery and confronting who you really are. Because you cannot make change until you acknowledge where you're actually at. Now, why? Because that's not some new age woo thing. It is for real. Like, if you understand where you're weak, then you know where to spend your time building skills. To me, the gap between where you are now and where you want to go is a gap of skill set. And once I realized that, and I made the choice to believe that this whole brain plasticity thing was real, even though it was being hotly debated, then I could shift my self-esteem from being smart, right, good, worthy, to being that of the learner. The learner is the only identity that I have ever found that is anti-fragile. As Nassim Taleb says, things that are robust, that are strong, that are tough, that can take just a lot of abuse before they break, they are still ultimately defined by their breaking point. Something that is anti-fragile, on the other hand, is something that the more you attack it, the more it is pounded on, the stronger it gets. Now imagine being able to build a belief system, the thing that you build your self-esteem around, if all of that were tied to something that is truly anti-fragile, that the more somebody comes after it, the more robust it becomes. Being a learner is that answer.
We went through a whole debate about what is the next company going to be. And it was one of those where it had to be something that we cared about. You know, we had started this whole gyration of selling the technology company because I was so pissed and so tired of chasing money. And I wanted to do something that I believed in. I wanted to do something that mattered, that had impact. So the only reason that I was interested in getting into nutrition was because I felt that it could save the 2 people that I was most worried about in the world, and 2, I thought that it could address what I saw as the greatest health crisis we face as a species, quite frankly.
What it's really going to take for you to get to that next level is to understand that the person that you are has gotten you as far as it's ever going to get you. So you've got to become a new person. You literally have to adapt. Now the great news is, like we talked in my first talk, that is what humans are wired to do. Humans are the ultimate adaptation machine. The reason that we are the only species that you can find in every corner of the globe. At one point, James Cameron was literally at the bottom of the Marianas Trench. We have sent human beings to the moon. We are going to send human beings to Mars. And the reason we're going to be able to do that is we can adapt to our surroundings. There was a woman who swam the Bering Strait. Really think about this. The Bering Strait is the space between Russia and Alaska. So you can imagine it's not quite a swim in the Bahamas. To make the swim, she had to change her fat from what's known as white adipose tissue to brown fat. Brown fat is more thermogenic, so it actually kicks off heat. To do that, for over a year, she had to expose herself routinely to cold temperatures, sleeping in the winters in Alaska with the window open. But in doing that, she actually put her body through an adaptation response. Her body got the message, adapt or die, so it adapted. And when you're willing to put yourself under those kinds of stresses to become that new thing you want to become, to be the new person that you want to be, to go farther than anyone you know has ever gone, to be the GOAT, it is possible, but it demands a price. It demands a price. And what this weekend is about, it's about you deciding for yourself, where do you want to go? And what price are you willing to pay to get there? There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. There's just clarity. There's just clarity. Don't judge yourself if you don't want to play on a world stage. Don't judge yourself if you're not willing to pay an extraordinary price. Just get the clarity of what you want and what you need to do to get there. When you do that, then you're going to be able to construct a narrative about who you are. And that narrative becomes everything.
Fulfillment is what matters. It is a neurochemistry state. The game that you're playing is not success, it is not money, it is not legacy, it is neurochemistry. It's feeling good about yourself right now, today, in this moment. Now, the absolute foundational building block to fulfillment is progress. Now, I don't mean progress in worldly pursuits. I mean humans are an active species that are absolutely designed to learn, adapt, and grow. We are the ultimate adaptation machine. Now, when nature wants us to do something, it incentivizes that thing with pleasure. So, if we're the ultimate adaptation machine designed to learn, grow, and get better, then it's going to make that process intensely pleasurable. Now, what it doesn't incentivize is the obsession over where other people are, whether or not we have unique ideas, whether or not we're valuable. None of that is going to bring you joy, okay? As they say, comparison is the thief of joy. So, hey, if you really want to f with yourself, jump in the Instagram feed and look how other people are crushing it and obsess over that. If, on the other hand, you want to really have a deep and lasting sense of fulfillment, jump in the Instagram feed, find people that motivate and inspire you to be a better version of yourself, not to attain worldly success, but to actuate your potential, to ask yourself a very simple question: what is it that I am excited by? What am I motivated by? What jazzes me up, regardless of whether or not it jazzes anybody else up? And now I'm going to go get good at that thing. And that progress is the foundational building block of happiness.
I knew exactly what I wanted. I had my why. I had my goal, and it was very specific. And this is the thing about goals. They have to be incredibly specific. And my goal was to end metabolic disease. Not sell a lot of protein bars, that was not the goal. I wanted to end metabolic disease, and that informed every choice that we made as entrepreneurs every time that we had to answer a hard question, one that might impact profitability, or how late we were gonna have to work, or what we were gonna have to do, and it almost always was difficult, including, by the way, we had to become our own manufacturers, which we did not want to do. We wanted to outsource it, we just wanted to be marketers, but nobody would make the bar for us. Or they would, but they said that we had to add sugar to it. And we asked a simple question: will that help end metabolic disease, yes or no? If yes, we'll do it. If no, we won't. And it wouldn't, so we didn't. It starts with that specific goal. And then because I had my why, my hands cramping closed in the face of doing something to save my mom and my sister, it was not a hard choice. In fact, I wouldn't have been able to look myself in the eye and say I was not able to help them because it was hurting my hands. right? It sounds ridiculous when you say it like that, but most people don't have a personal tie to what they're doing. Mother Teresa has an amazing quote: no one will act for the many, but people will act for the one. And so as you guys go into your jobs and you think about what you're trying to do, find a way to stop making it a job. Find a way to make it a calling, a vocation, something that really meets that why, your desire to connect or do something great for people.
Motivation. You have to want it. It has to be something that you were on fire for. Literally, as you were describing it, I was like, oh my God, I would study so much. I would ace this exam. You have no idea. I would absolutely kill this. Because that's my identity. So why is it that you want to do this? Is it that you want to be the best? Is it just the promotion? If it's the promotion and this is just about money, what does that mean? Why does it matter? What are you going to do with the money? Are you the first person in your family to be promoted that far? Are you setting an example for your son or your daughter? Like when you attach it to something that really matters, like for me, it's like, I'm going to dominate. Wherever you put me, I'm going to dominate. That's just my thing. My identity is so wrapped up in outworking everybody else. I love it. So I love going hard, learning, putting more time and energy. My thing is part of my identity. You ready for the secret? Part of my identity is like, I will work so hard at something that people will just assume I'm naturally gifted at that thing, because the alternative to believe that I'm spending 40 hours a week on top of my full-time job to study for that thing, they won't believe that I would put that kind of energy and effort into something. But I will. And so to them, it just looks like magic. Now, I love that so much that it becomes very easy for me to use identity statements. Okay? So we've got motivation. We're getting amped about it. It matters to us for some reason. Now we've got identity statements. I'm the type of person that works so hard, people assume it's magic. I'm the type of person that works so hard at something that people just assume I'm naturally talented, okay? I love that. I love saying that about myself. I love knowing that it's true. I love knowing that I can trust myself to put in the time and the energy to own it, because I'm the type of person that knows information is really power. And that if I go in and I work and I get better at this thing, that I'm going to be able to outperform other people, right? Skills have utility.
This is one of the most common reframes ever. Worth, being good enough, being right, being smart. Guys, these are very fragile ways to think of yourself. And I understand the temptation because it feels really good when you do feel worthy. It feels really good when you are right. It feels really good to actually be the best at something. But the truth of the world, just the truth of the world, it is this way. You're always going to encounter somebody better, stronger, faster, more pious, more worthy, more whatever. So if you live in a world of comparison, it will rob you of your joy. Even people who, like Michael Jordan, if you put him right now up against most rookies, the rookie's gonna win. Rookie's younger, faster, hungrier. Michael's just lost a step. He's gotten old. So if he were trying to make his life about his glory in that period, let's say he lives 80 years. If he's living for the glory of 20 years, that's the most heartbreaking life I can imagine. So you're going to move in and out of these moments where you are a badass to where you're not a badass. Don't value yourself for that. Value yourself for something that is anti-fragile. Being smart, being right, being good, being worthy, they are very fragile things because sometimes you won't be. It simply is this way. Valuing yourself for being a learner, on the other hand, for trying, that's anti-fragile. Because the more somebody attacks you for being dumb, but you build your self-esteem around learning, the first thing I think when someone says I'm dumb is awesome. In what way? Because I view myself in these 10-year windows. And I know the same people that were laughing at me when I became an entrepreneur, knew nothing about it, and I was who's the kid in the server room, and I was the only one with an office that had no windows, and there were like 9 other computers in my room, and nobody knew who I was, and the only contribution I made to phone calls was to say goodbye at the end of a conference call. I'm not kidding. 10 years later, I own a $1 billion business. Who the is laughing now? But it only worked because I didn't mind looking stupid.
It only worked because I wasn't asking myself whether I was worthy or whether I deserved it. I just asked myself, am I leaving it all out on the field? Yes or no? Am I learning? Yes or no? And if I'm not, I didn't go, oh, that makes me a bad person. I went, I need to change my actions to get a different result. And once you start thinking like that, and you literally value yourself for how hard you're trying, how much you're learning, how willing you are to accept when you fall on your face, that you don't try to get out from under it or campaign to convince people that you're better than you really are. Own where you're at. Because once you're real about it, then you can make progress. But if your energy cycles go to bullshit yourself, you'll never get out of it.
Humans are designed to adapt. We are the ultimate adaptation machine. We can learn anything we set our minds to. Now, you may not want to learn it, and that's good evidence that this is not a fascination that's going to turn into a passion. This is something that you should avoid. But if you can answer the question affirmatively, that do I want to know more about this than anyone else in the world? If the answer is yes, that's a path to go down. Because once you're saying yes to that, then you're going to go in and learn the things you need to do to become extraordinary. And if you're willing to put in the effort, while it may take you longer than somebody else, you will get there in the end if you keep at it, keep at it, keep at it. Because the people that win are not the smartest. It is always the people that keep at it. It's the people that persevere. That's just truth, man. Now, being smart helps, yay. I really wish I was a lot smarter. But I know that I'll beat 99.999% of the people that play regardless of level of intelligence because most people just drop out.
Once you have your goal, then you can work backwards to what you need to do in order to accomplish that goal. And that is the chasm of adaptation. It's the acquisition of skill set. It's getting better at something. It's becoming capable of something that you weren't capable of before. But that change, the fear of the unknown, is the thing that paralyzes people. So I want to go back to what I said earlier. You all meet minimum requirements. And I really mean that. I don't want you to wonder if somebody believes in you. I believe in you. I've seen a lot of people reach for the stars and fail. I've seen a lot of people reach for the stars and make it. I have a pretty good sense of what it takes for people to get there. So when I say that you guys meet minimum requirements, I really mean it. And I want that to liberate you. But what I wanted to liberate you to do is to figure out why it's not enough. Because I didn't just change anyone's life with that phrase, but I should have. That should be all you need to know. But there are other things stuck in your perception of who you are, in the lens by which you view this world, that convinces you that you can't make it.
Remember that just 15 years earlier, I got out of bed solely out of shame. My mother thought I was going to fail. My father-in-law did not want me to marry his daughter. Brick by brick, day after day, I transformed myself. It was not an uncovering of something that was real and already there. It was simply acknowledging I am a hopelessly average human, but humans are the ultimate adaptation machine. So I can change. I can become whatever I want. And I just became single-mindedly focused on how much I could grow. And now that I was getting value and self-esteem out of growing instead of out of being, everything in my life changed. So 15 years later, my father-in-law visits the US for the first time since we started Quest. And I'm taking him around the production floor. And there's 300,000 square feet, there's 800 employees, the bars are coming off the line at 1.5 million a day. People are coming up and thanking me for having a job and for the way that we run the company and all that. And I turned to him and I said, Andreas, do you remember asking me how I was going to take care of your daughter? And he said, yes. And I said, how am I doing? And he just burst into tears. And the punchline of that story, it does not matter who you are today. The only thing that matters is who you want to become and the price you're willing to pay to get there.
We all come to a relationship with like expectations about how we think people should act. And unfortunately, we don't recognize our expectations as expectations. We recognize them as truth. This is how the world is. It is how the world should be. And when we think that they have those same beliefs and values and rules and all that. And so given this scenario, there's only one way to act that is certainly obvious. And so when the person doesn't act like that, we take it personally, like, whoa, do you not respect me? Do you not love me? Do you not care about me? And it just isn't that. They have a different set of beliefs and rules. There's enough nuanced difference that they're not, if they're intending to hurt you, you have a whole different set of problems. But assuming that they're not intending to hurt you, then you have a communication problem. So Lisa and I actually define our terms. So we have a few words in our marriage that they mean something. So if I say, hey, baby, it's important to me that you leave that, glass of water on the table, then she just wouldn't move it, period. Simple as. Like the word important like comes in all caps with exclamation points glowing red. Like that's like when we say it, like it's a drop whatever you're doing, like it's important that you do X, Y, or Z. Now the big thing is when you define a word like that, you can't ever abuse it. So like I would never say it's important to me that you leave it. It's gotta be just extraordinary. Like how many times do I tell her something's important in a year? I don't know, 6, 7 times in a year. Wow. So it's like, it's really gotta be limited. And then another one is promise. If I say, I promise I'm gonna do that, dude, I'm going to do that. Like there's no two ways about it. So you never throw around promise, ever, under any circumstance. And so, dude, it's like, you really, really have to be hardcore. And the other way that we use promise is if she says, how does this dress look on me? I'm like, yeah, it looks great. And she's like, you promise? Then it's like, all right, it makes you look fat. What can I say? You know what I mean? It's like, but then you cut to like the chase on something. Now, the thing is, you can't say that all the time. You can't be like, how's this dress make me look? Fine, promise. What do you think of this dinner? You like it? Yeah, I love it, promise. Like if you're doing that, it loses everything.
Totally.
But if you're saving it for like, in fact, God, I almost don't remember the last time I asked Lisa to promise something like that. But that you haven't. We certainly use it more in the early days of our marriage. But even then, like how many times a year? 3 or 4? I mean, it's like, but it really forces you to respect these things that you make sacred in your relationship.
The man on top of the mountain didn't fall there. It's so tempting to look at people that have achieved the extraordinary and dismiss them as being more talented than you, better than you. But what you need to see is the simple truth. They've worked harder than you. They've earned something that you haven't yet earned. But here's the great news. That's empowering. Once you understand that they've just busted ass, once you understand that they've just put in an inhuman amount of work, and that the only thing that distinguishes the people that are on top of the mountain, the people that have really done something that's going to last, is that they put in the effort. They work on themselves. They understand that through discipline and effort over time, that we can get better. That is the human condition. That is the thing that I find most beautiful about being a person, is it doesn't matter if you're bad today. It doesn't matter where you start. It only matters where you're willing to go and the price that you're willing to pay to get there. And once you buckle down and you assure yourself and back it up with action that you're willing to pay any price to achieve the things that you want to achieve, then you'll really be living a limitless life.
For the person who's stuck, for the guy or gal who's in the cubicle, who hates their job, is in a dysfunctional relationship, is in debt, whatever the case may be, desperately wants a way out, a way forward, a lifeline. Where does that process begin for you? Like, what is the advice that you give that person?
So it begins with believing or acknowledging that humans are the ultimate adaptation machine. So the thing that has made us the apex predator is not that we're stronger. It's not even that we're smarter. In fact, the quote often attributed to Darwin is that, it's the survival of the fittest. He actually didn't say that. What he did say was, it's not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but rather the most adaptive to change. Now, the reason that humans are the apex of all apexes is because we are the most adaptive species to change. So if you know that, then it becomes infinitely less important who you are today. And what matters is, who do you want to become? and what price, and the price being the time and energy that you're going to put into acquiring the skills to become that person. So imagine the person that you want to be. How would they act? And then start acting like that. If the person that you want to be would leave their job and, regardless of whether they had a safety net, burn the ships and go after something new, then that's what you should do. If the person that you want to be would start working nights and weekends because they very much value having a stable income that they can provide for their family or themselves, whatever, but are going to be disciplined and spend nights and weekends to get the skill set to go be more valuable somewhere else or to start their own company, whatever, then do that.
Elon Musk talks about in his business, it's all about breaking things down to the physics. If you sell to people, the physics in your world is psychology and understanding what motivates them. So your company needs to have a why. And if you know Simon Sinek and his brilliant book, Start With Why, you'll know what we're talking about, the golden circle. Most people know what they do. They may even know how they do it, but they oftentimes don't know why they do it. Why did we launch Quest Nutrition? Because we wanted to end metabolic disease. Now, nobody knew that from looking at a protein bar, but our marketing material was about that. We didn't do features and benefits. We said, stop sacrificing. We said, you should hold food companies to a new standard. It's ridiculous that food companies aren't engineering new equipment to make food that's both good for you and delicious. It's just ridiculous. Nobody's held their feet to the fire. People have been buying the same junk products for years. They're not going to change unless you force them to. And so we came along and said, we're going to be the bearer of standards. We know why we're doing what we're doing. So I can't release a product that has sugar in it. Why? Because that's not going to end metabolic disease, and that is my driver. I show up to work every day not thinking about making it rain and counting my money. I'm not swimming in it like Scrooge McDuck. I'm coming every day thinking about two people, my mom and my sister. And I ask a very simple question. Is this advantageous for my mom and my sister? Yes or no? If it is, I do it. If it's not, I don't. Now, a lot of times, what's advantageous for my mom and my sister was really expensive. It was super annoying to have to do it because it was like you watch a profit margins like, oh God. But it becomes an easy filter, and every business has to have a filter. Every business needs to know what they say yes to and what they say no to. And if you don't have that blinding guiding light, when you scale, you will fall apart. And the reason you will fall apart, your customers won't know who you are. They won't know how to communicate your message to somebody else. Your employees won't know who you are. They won't know what to communicate to each other, let alone the outside world. So it has got to be blinding. You have to be able to write it down. It has to be super clear. It's got to be direct, and it's got to be meaningful. And it has to be real. It's got to actually be something that drives you.
What we all have to understand is at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is how good is your product. Whether you're trying to build a company or you're trying to be a kick-ass employee or you're trying to be the best parent of all time, at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is getting good. The only thing that matters is actually delivering an extraordinary performance. Until you get to that point where you can actually knock it out of the park, until you get to the point where you can captivate people with what you're able to do, you haven't gotten anywhere. If you want to be great, if you want to leave a legacy, if you want to be remembered, you've got to focus on the acquisition of skills. You have to focus on actually getting good. That's the only thing that's really going to capture people's imagination.
Now you've had, like I have, you've had extraordinary people sitting across from me. I've been blessed to have you sit across from me today. And I'm curious if there was a common denominator between all of these people, or what have you learned that surprised you in doing the show so far?
The thing that's really surprised me is that it is so consistent.
What
has made them all successful, and their ability to articulate it. They use different words. Some people come at it from different angles. Everybody has something fresh.
I heard a quote one time, and it so terrifies me. This, in fact, over a long enough time period, people are going to hear this quote from me so many times because seriously, man, I'm not joking. This scares me.
Wow.
And it scares me enough that it has a daily place in my life. And that is, genius is a young man's game. And when I heard that quote, I thought, whoa, the one thing that all of us touch for the briefest of moments is youth. And if you're lucky, what you'll get is a whole lot of middle age and then some old age, but you don't get a lot of youth.
And so I just thought, ooh, that's really scary. And they were basing it on the number of people that win Nobel Prizes. It's almost always for work they did in their 20s and 30s, almost always. And I thought, oh, I don't like that. And so looking at why that, and the reason, I guess this is important to say, the reason that I didn't like it was I felt that my youth was really whipping by and I hadn't accomplished the things that I wanted to accomplish. So if I'm, my youth is whooshing by me, how do I make sure that I can access genius at any time? That and I'll genius shorthand for like playing at the absolute best of your game and really changing things, like really having an impact. And this is one thing I think you and I share, like no bullshit. I want to have impact in the world. So if I just wanted to be rich, Lisa and I would have bought an island and retired, years ago. So clearly there's something more that's motivating me, and that thing is impact and really touching lives. So it's like wanting to be able to do that. I don't want to say, well, I had this brief window in my youth and I either did or didn't make use of it. But even if I did, I don't want the rest of my life to be looking back on that. So another quote that drives me, your future should always be bigger than your past. So, all right, you've got genius as a young man's game and a personal belief of mine that you should always be looking towards doing something more than you've ever done. And so you put those two together, and I just knew I had to solve for that problem. And the only solution that I have for it is switching things up, like you said, to live at the edges. And the same book was talking about the people that do end up getting either multiple Nobel Prizes or prizes for work they did later, is it's people that would routinely change so that they would have these two overlapping areas. So like chemistry and physics, and like where those two meet, like there's new discoveries and new ways to challenge your own thinking. And so always staying fresh, always challenging my own thinking, always looking at how am I wrong? Most people go into an endeavor with the confirmation bias. In fact, you just brought that up. So it's like, I'm so aware that by nature, like everybody, I just want to be told how right I am, how amazing the way that I'm thinking is. And because it feels good, right? That feels awesome.
What makes you happy?
The easy answer and the most truthful answer is time with my wife. The other answer to what makes me happy, there's really two things. So time with my wife, and then the pursuit, which I'll put in all caps, right?
Yep.
So the pursuit of whatever, the pursuit of getting better, the pursuit of impacting the world, the pursuit of building something big that matters. The pursuit, maybe I never get it. I don't care about that. I care about the pursuit. I care about whether sincerely I'm actually trying to make it happen. Not bullshit.
Yeah.
Not just like empty dreams, but like for real. I'm actually giving myself over to this. And I spent a lot of time in the inner cities. I big brothered for this one kid for 8.5 years, completely changed my life. And then having 1,400 employees and about 1,000 of which grew up hard in the inner cities. Hard, I mean, most of them grew up in Compton. I mean, it was just some of the most extraordinary stories I've ever heard. And I realized that those people are as extraordinary as anybody. Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey, Tony Robbins, like all those same raw materials exist in people in the inner cities that nobody believes in, nobody think will ever go anywhere. And they won't because they don't believe in themselves. And so we were talking at our most honest, like what are we really driven by? And I'm driven by that moment of awakening, which I had in my own life where I finally realized, wait, I can learn new things. So just because I'm not good today doesn't mean I can't be good tomorrow. And that filled me with so much excitement. I want to see that in other people. And I want to see what the world looks like when other people realize, wait a second, that Steve Jobs quote that the world is made by people no smarter than you is actually true. Yeah. And so if you're believing that these people are smarter than you because you did bad on your SATs, I'm just going to tell you right now, stop. So you can develop yourself. So my obsession became that humans are the ultimate adaptation machine. We are literally wired from the ground up in order to grow and improve under stress and pressure. So it's like, what's the phrase? Pressure can burst pipes, but it also creates diamonds. Yes. So it's like, you need the pressure. And yes, it can hurt, but it can also make something amazing if you're willing to put yourself in that situation. So it's a weird twist of fate that humans, in order to build the muscle, you first have to tear it, right?
Yes.
So, but once you accept that that's how it works, you can do extraordinary things. I am not a born entrepreneur. Now, there are many people that consider themselves a born entrepreneur. I am not one of them. I know that there were kids out there that had lemonade stands when they were like 6 months old. They couldn't hold their head up, but they could sell. That was not me. I was totally retarded when it came to stuff like that. I had a paper route, and they gave your money in two ways. One, they just gave you sort of a blanket weekly payment for delivering the paper, but then the other part of it was you were supposed to go collect that money.
And I was too afraid to knock on the doors to collect the money, so I never got that part, but I felt so obligated that I said I would do it that I kept delivering the papers essentially for free. So that's where I started as an entrepreneur. My parents' biggest frustration was that I was epically lazy, and if they handed out gold medals for being lazy, I would have won, I assure you, hands down. There was a period in my life where I would spend between 2 and 3 hours in bed because it was warm in bed and it was cold out of bed. All right? That's true. I actually did an interview with Jocko Willink, if you guys know him, Extreme Ownership. His book totally blew me away. And in the middle of the interview, I confessed that. And he said, Tom, don't worry, we'll let you edit that out. And I said, Jocko, I actually don't want to edit that out because right now the narrative about what it means to be an entrepreneur is to be naturally gifted. And I call total bullshit on that. Because I'm not naturally gifted. I don't have any natural talents. And all of us are born as this lump of jelly that can't hold its own head up, that poos in its pants, and we all learn to do things. And it's that ability to specialize that makes us great. And the things that you choose to put your time and energy into, those are going to be the things that allow you to accomplish something. But all of that is a choice.
You talk a little bit about seeking power.
Yeah.
And it confused me when I first heard it. I'm not sure I even liked how you said it at first until I understood it. And so can you talk to everybody about seeking power and what that means?
Yeah, this is another one of those things that internally for me, it's such a beautiful concept that I was so surprised the first time I said it out loud and somebody was like, oh, that's gross. And I was like, okay, I need to explain this then.
Yes.
So to me, power is the ability to close your eyes, imagine a world, a beautiful world, the world that you want to exist, open your eyes, and then be able to actually make that world come true. And so when I say I'm seeking power, I'm saying I'm seeking the skills that will allow me to make the world a better place. It will, whether that's to be able to connect with people and build a team and get other people excited, whether that's to be able to build a business that generates enough funds to improve the lives of the employees and the people that we touch with great products. You know, whatever that is, like to be willing and excited by the thought of going out and getting those skills, because those skills really are powerful. And to me, it's like people misunderstand power the way they misunderstand money. Any moment, you can choose to believe something new about yourself. Now, the weird thing about belief is as soon as you change that belief, it becomes true. Why that is, I will never quite understand. What weird quirk of human evolution has left us in a space where simply believing it makes it true? If you think you're dumb, guess what? You're dumb. Truly. And you will act in accordance with that belief, and that should scare the shit out of you, because it scared the life out of me. And I saw myself heading down a path that I did not want to be on because I believed that I was dumb. I had a fixed mindset. I used to only apply for jobs where I knew I'd be smarter than the person interviewing me because I did not want to feel badly about myself. But you can imagine the types of jobs that I got. I once lovingly referred to myself as the king of remedial jobs. And I actually had pride in that, because what I built my sense of pride around was getting the job, was always being smart, was being right, and none of those things were moving me towards my goals. Now, if you don't know this quote, live by it. One can have no smaller or greater mastery than mastery over oneself. That's Da Vinci. Da Vinci did amazing things with his life. I wanted to do equally amazing things with mine. And if that's the game that we're playing, if I can construct my belief system, if I can choose at any moment to believe something that's more empowering than I was believing the moment before, and that will actually find its way into my actions, allow me to do things that I couldn't do the moment before, then it's like that moment in The Matrix where Neo realizes he knows Kung Fu. And that's like, as funny as that is, that's how I think about life. To me, the very fundamental purpose of life is to find out how many skills I can acquire that have utility, and then put that utility to the test in service of something greater than myself. I used to say to myself all the time, you're gonna get rich or you're gonna die trying. And so, starting as a copywriter, I started busting my ass. Step number 1, I convinced my wife, we're going to, because there were 2 other partners that hired me, I'm gonna pick an apartment that's no more than 5 minutes from either of them. That way, if they call me at 2 in the morning, I'll be there in 5 minutes, and they're gonna know no one else in their company is as serious as me.
and I'm going to claw my way up this company, and I'm going to get whatever job I become the right person for, and I'm going to work my way up. And by the time we ended up selling that company, I had clawed my way through sweat equity into owning 10% of the company and being the chief marketing officer, from starting as the copywriter. The person that everybody asked, who's the kid in the server room, was the only person that didn't have a window. They literally put me in the room with all the computer servers. But starting from there, I knew I could wow people because I was willing to grind it out. And that is one of the most valuable things that anybody can do.
If you want another amazing Tom Bilyeu video, check it out right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
I wake up every morning. Espresso keep me going. I wake up